Continuing your coverage of the Daystar saga, and we have some very heavy things to get into today concerning new alleged incidents involving Doug Weiss. People are speaking out. Women are speaking out on who this man really is. And as I said from the very beginning as I covered this story, it started with just one report, one story from Jonathan and Susie about what allegedly happened to their daughter back in 2020 and 2021. And what have we seen since then? We have been getting more and more revelations of darkness that has been hidden. It doesn't stop with just the one story. God is truly shining a light on all the players at Daystar who are involved in things that they shouldn't be. Yet, they pose as ministers. They pose as pastors. They pose as individuals who have more biblical, spiritual authority than you do. They often like to hype their ministry experience. The fact that they're so much better than you and me. I mean, even Joni Lamb said this about her own son, as well as Susie, right? As far as it came to the topic of marriage, they don't even have a Bible degree. They've never preached a sermon. They don't have the decades-long ministry experience that someone like myself has, or Jimmy Evans. They're very good at painting the narrative that they want you to believe. But God is saying no more. We are going to get into these new allegations against Doug Weiss, but was Doug Weiss tied to another disgraced pastor from Colorado? Because it's very interesting what one woman had to say. In fact, it's a pastor that I have reported on before. And when I heard this, I mean, it's just, again, it's more revelation of seeing who these people are tied to. We're going to talk about that. But also, who is the real Lisa Weiss? We have heard now from Doug, because Lisa is not speaking, that Doug was mistreated in his marriage for over 30 years by Lisa Weiss. What was the other word he used? Abandoned in the marriage. Yet we heard him on audio with Jonathan Lamb talking about how the butterflies are still there. But yet this was a man that was supposedly abandoned and hurt by Lisa in every way possible. What are not even former, but still current friends of Lisa saying about who she really is and who Doug really is? Because it would appear that those things that Doug is accusing Lisa of doing is actually just projection as to what he was really doing to her. So we are going to get into all of that and so much more in just a second. But before we go any further, I have to officially welcome all of you to Not By Sight News. Yes, a blind Christian guy here reporting to you, reminding you as always that we walk by faith, not by sight. For someone like me, that's kind of my only option. If you guys could do me a huge favor, hit the like button for me, share this video around. When you do that, you help get these videos out there more in the algorithm, in the recommended section, gets more eyes on our content, and does us a great service. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you are all having an excellent day. By the way, I just want to say a quick thank you to all of you a lot of you in recent days have had a lot of nice things to say about me. You appreciate my reporting on this story. I've seen those, and I just, again, can't thank you enough for just all of your kind words. I know I'm just one of many who is reporting on this story. And, I do things a little bit differently as somebody who's blind. And, I have to prepare and study for these stories a lot different. I have to basically, I use a screen reader on my computer to do this work. I can't come on here and just read from an article. I have to, spend time listening to video. I have to listen to articles with the screen reader. And I got to memorize all these points and put it together in the best way that I can. So when you guys have nice things to say about how you appreciate that, that makes me feel good in knowing that, again, because I got to do things differently, I'm not on so much of an even playing field with all the sighted people out there. It definitely makes me feel good. So thank you again for all the nice words. Let me talk here. Let me start off with Denise Boggs, because I sort of want to go back to these counseling sessions. Now, Denise Boggs was recently on with Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, and she revealed some very interesting information and also some things that we did not previously know. So you've all probably heard this by now, but the message was that Pete was cleared. Okay? Marcus and Joni had said that to the family after, if you remember, Marcus had called in both Jonathan and JW, Rebecca's husband, into his office and said, look, Pete has been cleared, and if you can't accept that, then you can't be a Daystar. What Denise Boggs did not know was that following that one session, okay, you have to remember, it was only one session that was had with Pete, his wife, and you had the licensed forensic counselor, Debbie Lenhart. Now, I did not previously know this, but Denise Boggs was actually in the room with Debbie, with Pete and his wife. Remember, Debbie, or I should say, Denise, is the longtime friend of the Lambs, the family counselor. She's not licensed, okay? That's why she had referred them to Debbie in the first place. So, in that meeting, we've talked about it before, but again, we have some new little pieces now to this. There had been new information, text messages released that, in fact, showed text messages from Pete's wife to Marcus Lamb following that one session. Okay? Now remember, in that session, we had heard that, and Debbie was in the room. And you guys I encourage you, if you want, you can go watch Laura Lynn's video. She's done an awesome job. Remember, she was the first one to leave Daystar to announce that she was pulling her show as a part of Daystar Canada off of the network. And good for her. So you can go check out the latest video that she put out there with Denise. So Denise is in the room, and this is where we heard that Pete's wife was taking over the session, answering questions for Pete. And this went a long time. This was a long session. After it was over, Denise had walked, see, there are too many D names. Denise had walked Debbie to her car. And Pete and his wife were still in the room. Now, Denise said that as she was walking Debbie to her car, Debbie said, I can't exonerate this guy. I didn't get enough information. I'm going to need at least one more meeting, if not two more. And the reason for that, again, was because Pete's wife was answering a lot of these questions that he should have been answering, trying to take over the session. Now, that has been, of course, refuted by Pete's wife on social media and other podcasts that wasn't the case. Nevertheless, you had Denise go, and she said that she was asked this question point blank. At any point, Laura Lynn asked the question, at any point did you exonerate Pete? And she said, absolutely not. And again, there was nothing that came out of that meeting that said that he was good to go. Now, text messages were released. This is something that Denise Boggs did not know. That apparently Pete's wife, after that session, had sent a text message to Marcus Lamb, informing him that, in fact, Pete had been cleared. He had been exonerated. This excited Marcus Lamb, and Marcus said this must be a great relief for both you and Pete, that this is now finally all over. They've gone through everything that the family wanted them to go through. We're set. But Marcus said this, that don't tell the other four about this. You know, we'll handle it. We'll take care of it. So this is how Marcus and Joni got that narrative that Pete was cleared. But I do want to point out that if you remember back to the beach house, the following day is when Joni said that she had heard from God that Pete was innocent. And Marcus reportedly clapped his hands and was very happy about this. But then they still went through the process of going to the counselor. Now, from this point forward, Denise Boggs said that she was actually approached by Pete multiple times. Okay, again, this was after the one session with Debbie. But Pete had asked Denise, can you clear me? Now, can you exonerate me? But why would Pete have to ask that question if, in fact, what's been put out there was that by the family was that this dude is clear. He didn't do anything wrong. Debbie signed off. She never did. Debbie signed. I mean, Debbie's even given interviews since, and she even gave one with the Dallas Morning News that, again, I never exonerated Pete. Never. So Pete would ask Denise multiple times after. Again, Marcus got the text message from Pete's wife. He's good to go. So why was Pete so worried? And why was there this constant urging for another clearing? Well, because to me, in my opinion, they knew sending a message saying that this guy is clear. I mean, they knew that wasn't the case. So Denise even recalls a moment where she was invited over to the home of Pete and his wife. And she was asked again, can you exonerate me? Now, Pete, or I should say, Denise says that for this time, Pete's wife was there in the home and heard this. And Denise says that this is what she said that Pete asked her. Can you just put it on a professional letterhead about the fact that I am exonerated? So it sounds like they wanted some sort of paperwork that they could use down the road if they needed it. Because to my knowledge, all that there was just the word here of Pete and his wife and Marcus and Joni, right? Even though Debbie had never at any point said that Pete was good to go. Now remember, after Marcus, now that we know, because again, Denise Boggs did not know that a text message went out to Marcus. In fact, Denise stated on the interview with Laura Lynn, she just found out about the text messages that same day of the interview. So it was after this that Denise was contacted by Marcus and was told, hey, just drop this whole thing. We're good to go. We're good. We don't need you anymore. You know, Pete was good, which didn't make any sense to Denise. So getting back to this letterhead thing, Denise tells Pete, I can't do that. I am not a licensed counselor. And that would be, it sounds, it would be illegal in a sense, right? Or at least dishonest to, put on a professional letterhead that this individual has been cleared of this obvious wrongdoing. I mean, I'm sure that Denise Boggs could get herself into some serious trouble for that, but she didn't do it. Credit to her. And then Denise Boggs said that it happened yet again, a third time that Pete asked to be cleared. But the day in which this happened, out of all days, the funeral of Marcus Lamb, this is when Denise Boggs said that Pete had asked once more, "Can you clear me?" Now, this apparently happened, according to Denise, in a vehicle where she says that she was actually in the car with Pete and his wife on the way to Pete's wife's mother's house. And Denise said that she couldn't quite recall whether or not his wife was in the car at the time. She might have gone into the house, and then Pete asked her, sometime during that time that she was in the house. But she again said, "No, I cannot clear you." Now, when she told him, if you want to be cleared, you have to go back to Debbie Lenhart. But Pete said, "No, I don't want to go back there because it was grueling for me to have to sit through that the first time. It was grueling," Pete said. Now, here's my question. Pete sounded here, according to Denise Boggs, very desperate to get cleared, despite the text messages being sent to Marcus that said he was good to go. Why not just meet with Debbie again? If you did nothing wrong and you have nothing to hide, if there were concerns from the first session that questions that needed to be answered were not, why not go back? Because I remember that he was asked this time, I believe, to come back alone, to not have his wife in the room, so that way Debbie could spend the appropriate time with him to get to the bottom of this. Now, I do want to say this as well, that this whole thing about exoneration, all of that, you would need, you want to talk about full-on exonerate. You would need, a police investigation. And from what we have now heard, is that this has now been reopened. This case against Pete involving Jonathan and Susie's daughter was reopened. The Colleyville Police Department. That has been confirmed. But Pete did not want to meet with Debbie again. So, and from there we know Denise wrote letters, and then it even got into everything involving Joni and marrying Doug. So it's quite interesting that there was such an urgency from Pete having to ask Denise Boggs multiple times to clear him, even though he was apparently already cleared. Remember, they sent a message. So obviously, they needed that extra piece of paper, right? All right. And you guys can let me know your thoughts on that down below in the comment section. I want to talk now about, and this is where things are going to get a little heavy. If you missed the video that I did regarding the former clients of Doug Weiss, heart-to-heart counseling, I did a video where I went through a couple of the stories that former clients of Doug Weiss gave about how the counseling sessions at Heart to Heart work. And if you missed that video, I encourage you to go back on my channel and check that out. It is absolutely disturbing hearing some of the revelations that came out from those sessions and what those women were put through. But then I heard something that, if true, now this is allegedly, I want to point out to you, and you guys can make up your own mind about this in the comment section, but when you just look at the patterns that we're seeing here, this is not good. And again, if true, allegedly here, but we had another whistleblower come forward and give a letter to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson. Now, as I said here at the top of the video, who is Lisa Weiss? Right? Lisa has been framed again as an abandoner, a mistreater of her husband. Doug said that he was in a loveless marriage, right? Even Joni actually even said that too in that meeting, that board meeting, I believe it was, with Jonathan and as well as the rest of those guys. Tom Callender, John Lynch, and everybody. But a friend of Lisa wrote into Laura Lynn. Had a lot of interesting things to say. And we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to be very careful to not, I'm going to, use words, obviously different words in place of the others. But you guys, I'm sure, can figure this out. Now, this woman that wrote in said that her daughter and Lisa and Doug's daughter, they went to high school together. They were really good friends. And her daughter would often go over to the home of Lisa and Doug. And, this mom was there too. And she said that Lisa was nothing but the sweetest, most kind woman that she had ever met. She waited on Doug hand and foot. Whatever he needed. She was a loving wife. She was a people person. They would often go over to the Weiss home for barbecues, and the two girls, they were in dance classes together, so they would sometimes have events back at the Weiss home. And there was just something that did not sit well with her about Doug. She said that she got a sick feeling in the pit of her stomach every time she was around him. He was too slick. She even went so far as to call him creepy. And then some interesting things were revealed. We know that Heart to Heart, his counseling, his counseling center, is based in Colorado Springs. This woman revealed that Doug Weiss was counseling members of a church there in Colorado Springs. That church is New Life Church, which was the mega church that was founded by Pastor Ted Haggard. Now, let me give you a little bit of a background on Ted Haggard. It's important that you know this, because when I heard this, I was like, whoa. And I had to go back, and I went back through some old articles on Haggard, because I reported on this a few years ago. And it actually came out in the Roy's report at the time. Ted Haggard is a disgraced pastor who has had multiple allegations against him of mistreatment, if you know what I mean. In 2006, he was forced to resign after a major deal came out where he was caught using certain substances. Not only that, he had paid for an adult worker, an adult male worker. Haggard admitted that he did pay the adult male worker, but only for a massage, is what he claims. Not only that, there were allegations at the time that Haggard was involved in a very inappropriate relationship with another male in the church at New Life. Haggard again was forced to resign in 2006, but only a couple of years later, he started a brand new church. Now, before I talk about that, I want to point out that there was this restoration plan for Haggard. Let me tell you this, he is one of the biggest wolves out there, okay? He was once someone that was widely respected within the evangelical community until, the truth was revealed. But a group of pastors had put together this spiritual restoration plan for Haggard. It was supposed to go on for some time, but about 14 months into this plan, Haggard reportedly said he was done, and he cut out of it altogether. In 2010, he went on to form St. James Church in Colorado Springs, where he was a senior pastor there for, well, about a decade or so. But then more allegations came out about Haggard in 2022 that he had mistreated more boys in that church. And as far as what happened with St. James, the membership started to decline. Not a surprise, right? Especially with everything with Haggard. And Haggard was forced to sell the building. Haggard, now this was, I want to point out to you that as of in 2022, Haggard had closed up shop on St. James Church and basically started doing church out of his own home. And he named this third church Story House Church, where he was having Bible studies just in his home. So look at this fall of this guy, okay? From mega church, then to a smaller church, and then to just within his home. But all the while, the same type of behavior. Using substances, getting himself involved with other boys. It's absolutely disgusting in every way. And then getting back now to this friend of Lisa Weiss, who said that Doug Weiss was counseling women at Ted Haggard's New Life Church. So Doug Weiss was associated with this Wolf Haggard. Wasn't it Denise Boggs in her letter to Joni that she called Doug Weiss a wolf in sheep's clothing? That he was very deceptive, that you should stay away? I didn't know even about Weiss's connection with Haggard until that letter was read on Laura Lynn's show. But as she continued, the friend of Lisa Weiss says that Doug Weiss was counseling women of New Life Church one-on-one. Now, see, this is very different than the intensives that take place at Heart to Heart, where they involve both the husband and the wife. This was only Doug and the woman, one-on-one. Now, where those sessions took place, the friend of Lisa Weiss did not say, as far as whether they were in the church or if they occurred at Heart to Heart. But they were one-on-one. Now, the friend, and this is again, I want to stress this is allegedly, okay? But these people are now writing in with these stories, and you can make up your own mind in the comment section about what you think. But the friend says that she knows of multiple women who have come forward and shared their stories about what happened in those one-on-one counseling sessions with Doug. Now remember, they're going to counseling with him, and these were women who attended New Life Church. So if you or someone you know has ever attended New Life, you're welcome to comment here on this video and give us your insight. Again, I've already picked apart Ted Haggard. I gave you the history on him. But they were going to counseling because of, issues in the bedroom that were not going well. Why? This is so hard for me to say. First of all, and I've said this before, if you're going for any sort of counseling, especially if it's marriage counseling, but in this case, because of stuff in the bedroom, not going well, you have to have another female in that room. It is not safe for these women, for these wives, to be in a one-on-one situation with another male counselor or supposed male counselor, especially Doug Weiss, of all people. The friend of Lisa Weiss continued and said that what happened to these women, again, they allege that Doug Weiss mistreated them in these counseling sessions, and he did it under the guise of a demonstration. A demonstration? So he mistreats them, again, if you know what I mean, in these counseling sessions, which should be a crime, right? But he does it under the guise of demonstration. Let me show you a little trick that you can bring back with you to your husband, since you seem to be struggling in this particular area of your marriage. And it wasn't just one woman, it was multiple women who came forward and alleged that Doug Weiss mistreated them in these, again, one-on-one counseling sessions as a part of New Life Church, Ted Haggard's church, the disgraced wolf that he is. If this is true, this is disturbing. This is disturbing. Now, we don't know the exact years that these events allegedly took place. But just think again, Doug is what? He is obsessed with, fun time, we'll just say. He's obsessed with it. You guys have probably by now heard all the different audio clips about him, we're going to, my thing is I want to have a blessed you-know-what and not a cursed you-know-what. And all these it's bad, okay? And you guys know. Ted Haggard's church. Now, again, he resigned around 2006. Around 2006. New Life Church is still up and running today. So the question is, did the counseling occur? And it wasn't even counseling, okay? It's a crime. If this is all true, it's a crime. But Doug, and these women now, by the way, are traumatized. According to Lisa's friend, they are traumatized by what this man did to them, allegedly. One-on-one sessions at New Life. Anybody from New Life in the past, speak out. See, this is your time for all of this to come out. This all needs to be exposed. The one word that I have heard from so many, and we heard it here in this letter from Lisa's friend. And again, you can go, if you want to go watch Laura Lynn's video, you can. It's up on her channel. But the one word that I have seen come up the most is creepy, as it comes to Doug Weiss. If this is all true, there's nothing more creepy. It's creepy and criminal. If what happened to these women was true, and that Doug was doing this under the guise of a demonstration. No counselor should be, I don't care what kind of counselor, should be putting their hands on you. Especially like that. Sick. If it's true, it's criminal, the dude should be in prison. Bottom line. Him and Ted Haggard could share a cell together. And I'm just curious. Does Joni know about this? Does Joni know? Joni, remember, called that chiropractor at Daystar, the one with the criminal record that we talked about in a video a couple of days ago, a nice man. And that Doug has been a blessing in her life. Really? Really? Before I wrap up, I want to talk about one more letter that came out from, it was read out loud on Laura Lynn's show. And it, again, is another friend of Lisa Weiss. This story is also very interesting because of the timeline in which it took place. As the friend wrote in, they said that she was very good friends with Lisa. And again, a people person, everyone's saying that she was nothing but a nice person. And by the way, also very loyal in the marriage. The marriage, according to this friend, was not unhealthy, according to Doug. Well, it may have been unhealthy, but not because of Lisa. Now, the friend says that Lisa stopped communication with her in January of 2022. Now, what is so significant about that? About that time, January of 2022. That's the same month where Doug Weiss filed for divorce from Lisa. And then it was finalized in May of the same year. So Lisa goes quiet, stops talking to her friend. By the way, she has not heard from Lisa since then. That's sad, because that shows that this woman has been deeply hurt by what's taken place to her at the hands of Doug. Isolated herself, won't talk to some of these friends of hers. But she revealed a little bit more, and she recalled a particular incident where she was out having coffee with Lisa, and Doug, I guess, was there as well, or he showed up, and he started screaming at Lisa to get home and meet the pizza guy, because there was apparently a pizza that was ordered and sent to the house, and she needed to get there ASAP. But he made a big scene. Again, yelled and screamed at her. Now, and again, this is all allegedly, but I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that, because if you remember in that little piece of audio where Doug was screaming at Jonathan Lamb, remember that? Remember when Jonathan was saying, well, wouldn't it be better if you did what you could to save the marriage with Lisa? Wouldn't that look better for you? Again, especially as somebody that was, touting such a wonderful marriage, 30 years of marriage, the butterflies and all of that. And what did Doug do? He snapped at him. And Jonathan even said, like, a little taken aback by your reaction. And here you have this friend saying that Doug screamed at Lisa to get home. Make sure you can meet the pizza guy there. It's just interesting that you're not really hearing a bad word about Lisa Weiss. Well, at least from anybody other than Doug or Joni. And these now allegations that Doug Weiss mistreated these women one-on-one in these counseling sessions as a part of New Life Church, that's deeply disturbing. If true. Again, it's all allegedly. These are people that they're writing in. There's some that will accuse them of being liars. Well, God knows the truth, okay? God knows the truth. But don't forget this, that women who are mistreated, and by the way, let me not forget this. As far as the allegations of the mistreatment against these women in the counseling sessions, Doug apparently had said that, well, they're all crazy anyway. This is why they all need help. They all need counseling. They're all crazy. Go back to Doug's own words. This guy loves talking about what goes on in the bedroom. A demonstration. A demonstration. Take this back to your husband and show him what he could do to help out. Again, if true, this is sick. It's criminal. It is absolutely criminal. But see, this is your time to speak out. You have to understand that if you are somebody who has been mistreated in the church, you got to speak out, especially if it, involved Weiss or anything at Daystar. People that have been afraid to come out for years are now doing that. Some of them have been just gripped with fear over the thought of even coming forward over what potentially something bad happening to them. See no more. This is your time to rise up and speak out about what has happened. God is not a fan of you being mistreated. Do not be fooled by the lying pastors out there or counselors that would tell you that you need to stay in a relationship or a marriage with somebody who would mistreat you. The last person that anybody should be getting marriage advice from is Doug Weiss, right? Let me also say this. There's a lot of people that are saying that Daystar needs to shut down, and I agree with that. But heart to heart, honest to Pete, that needs to shut down too. Because, and again, if you go back to the video I did talking about the women who were the clients of Doug's at Heart to Heart and their stories, that alone right there. I mean, Doug counseling them and he was already divorced. That's enough of a reason right there to shut that thing down. He was dishonest with them. He was touting a happy marriage and he wasn't even married anymore. Can Daystar be reformed? That's something else that I've heard people ask. Just get all these jokers out of there, put Jonathan back in and Susie. Look, I'll just be honest with you, in my opinion, Jonathan and Susie would probably be better just starting something completely new. Just get away from the Daystar name altogether. Because just like Gateway Church and so many others that I've reported on, the name now is just, there's a stain on that name. They can do better. They can do a lot better than Daystar. There's going to be more. There's going to be a lot more that comes out about this. And as it does, I will make sure to cover it for you as we, again, will expose the darkness in the church, the corruption. We'll call out the wolves in the pulpit, and we will protect the vulnerable, as we always say. But I want to hear from you. You guys can let me know your thoughts down below here in the comment section on everything that we've talked about here today. Also, if you enjoy and appreciate the work of Not By Sight News, the fact that we do expose church corruption, we call out those wolves in the pulpit and protect the vulnerable. And if you want to see it continue, would you consider making a generous donation to support and fund the good work that we're doing here, especially as I've shared with you all the last several months, the multiple health issues that my wife has gone through, including suffering a stroke, being diagnosed with a clotting disorder, and also a lupus diagnosis that has left her in extreme amounts of pain and caused her to no longer be able to work. Because of that, it's all sort of resting on my shoulders to deal with these stacking medical bills and other bills we have piling up. And I'll just be honest with you guys, it's just not going to be sustainable for me to be able to continue the work of Not By Sight News if I'm only relying on the ad revenue from these videos, which really is not much. Even if these videos manage to get to 1,000 views or so, you get like $2 from that. So if you feel led by the Lord, you enjoy and appreciate our work here, there are multiple ways you can help us. One of those is by going over to our GoFundMe. We created a GoFundMe to help out. The link to that is in the description of this video and all videos. Also, you can become a monthly contributor by joining our Patreon for as little as $5 a month. Patreon.com/NotBySightNews. That link also in the description. And then finally, you can just hit the super thanks button on the YT video here. Although if you do choose that option, YT does take 30% of that for themselves. So if you do want to make sure that we get the majority of your generous gift, then GoFundMe or Patreon will be your best options. And we, again, thank you all so much for that support. What I want to do right now, something I do on all these videos, and that's end this video on hope. It's part of my ministry outreach. This is an altar call. I've been doing this on my videos since 2016. No matter what it is that I'm discussing in the church, again, exposing the corruption of the wolves that occupy its pulpits, we always want to give people the opportunity to receive Christ as Savior. That being said, anybody watching now, if you are somebody who has not yet received Jesus as Lord and Savior, you would like to do so, I want to lead you in a prayer to do that right now. This is a prayer you could do in your own words, but I will give you the steps you need to bring it before the Lord today. First thing you want to do right off the top, acknowledge you are a sinner. That is something that we all are. The good news is that God gave his only Son, Jesus Christ, to die on that cross for the sins of all the world, as he died and rose again for you and me. He paid the cost. What you have to do is repent of your sin. That means to turn from sin, not just to say you're sorry and then jump back to your old ways, but to actually turn from sin, which are those lifestyles, patterns, habits, behaviors, things in your life that go against the Word of God. If you humbly go before the Lord, though, and ask him to forgive you, he'll wipe your sin away. The Bible says he doesn't remember it any longer. And then you invite Jesus into your life to be your Lord and Savior. When you do that, you become born again, a child of God. You will have eternal life. Trust me when I tell you there is no greater decision that you will ever make than the one you do to give your life to Christ. And I pray you make that decision today. Again, more info down below. Thank you all again so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back with more. You guys take care. Please be safe out there. God bless each and every single one of you. And I'll talk with you soon.